بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Tonight's class will be on chapter number 51. باب المشي إلى الصلاة تمحى به الخطايا وترفع به الدرجات. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أنه سمع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم يقول: أرأيتم لو أن نهرا بباب أحدكم يغتسل فيه كل يوم 5 ما تقول ذلك يبقي من درنه؟ قالوا لا يبقي من درنه شيئا. قال فذلك مثل الصلوات 5 يمحو الله به الخطايا. Chapter 51 says, going to the prayer, walking to the prayer, blots out evil deeds and raises the reward in degrees. Walking to the prayer blots out evil deeds and raises you in reward or raises you in degrees of good. When you go to the masjid, walk to the masjid, walk towards prayer, it is a means of Allah Azza wa Jal wiping away some of your bad deeds and a means of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala raising you in rank with and through good deeds. So this chapter is a sub-chapter of some of the previously mentioned chapters with regards to the virtue, the superiority, and the excellence of prayer. The virtue, the reward, and the superiority of congregational prayer, the reward, the virtue, the superiority of congregational prayer that's actually offered in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many other virtues, many rewards, many blessings of praying together in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all three, whether they're done collectively or separate. The reward of the prayer, the virtue of the prayer. So this hadith, it teaches us, it says, narrated by Abu Hurairah, hadith number 389, Allah's Messenger sallallahu, he says, I heard him saying, if there was a river at the door of anyone, or any one of you, and he took a bath in it 5 times a day, would you notice any dirt on him? They said, no, not a trace of dirt will be left. The Prophet sallallahu said, that is the example of the 5 salah, with which Allah blots out evil deeds. With which Allah blots our animals, evil deeds. That's what it says in the translation. So the highlighting point of this hadith, short and sweet, right to the point, it shows us that making salah is a means of sins being forgiven. Making salah is a means of forgiveness of sin. It has nothing to do with walking to the masjid or praying in congregation. It says the 5 prayers. So from that aspect, the chapter heading isn't necessarily relative or in connection to the actual hadith. But from foreign sources, foreign hadiths, it is well known that the 5 daily prayers are made to be established in the houses of Allah in congregation. The 5 daily prayers are made to be established in the houses of Allah in congregation. So we take it from other sources with this hadith, the virtue of walking to the salah. But this hadith doesn't say anything about walking. It's speaking on actual prayer. But obviously, how do the people get to the masjid, to the congregational prayer, unless they do what? Unless they walk. Even if they drive, they have to park the car and do what? And walk. Everybody clear on this? So that's the highlighting point from this hadith. From this hadith, we learn the permissibility of making examples, metaphors, parables, or similes. We learn from this hadith the permissibility to give an example and to make something that's hypothetical, something that's based off of theory. It's permissible in the deen. Obviously, it's done with a limit, and there's certain things that you don't make examples of and with. And obviously, it has to have a purpose. It has to have a what? A purpose behind it. So here the Prophet ﷺ, he gave them something that was visual, something that was tangible. A physical example to prove a metaphysical virtue. If you wash up 5 times in a bin or a tub or a shower, but he says a river, a stream, a brook, a nahr, actual river flowing in front of your house, i.e., it doesn't take too much to get to the water. You don't have to sweat to get there, huh? And then when you wash up, you have to do what? Walk 10, 15 minutes back to your house and do what? You may sweat again. Everybody finish? You may what? You may sweat again. Rather, the water is right in front of your house. You step out the door, boom, bang, right into the water. 5 times a day. How dirty could a man possibly become? How dirty could a man possibly become? How dirty could a man possibly be after washing up all of those times? So the Prophet ﷺ says this is what the 5 prayers do to a person and an individual. It keeps him clean. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, Faddal. Perhaps he said, Man hafadha alayha, you say shukran? Kana lima siwaha ahfadh. Wa man dayaha, kana lima siwaha adya. Or kama qal, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He said that he who strictly guards the prayer, meaning the prayers, he would do the same with the rest of the religion even more. Even more. And he who wastes the prayer, meaning the prayers, he will do the rest of the religion what? Even more. The same way. Because when you make 5 prayers, it keeps you clean. In other words, the 5 prayers keep you away from fahisha. They keep you away from this. They keep you away from all types of evil, negative things. For the sheer fact that it's time to pray and pray again and go back to the masjid and make wudu and wake up and go to sleep early. You have prayer on your head, on your mind. You're in the salah, you hear dhikr, you meet a brother. There's so much good that comes from what? The prayer. So if you make a sin, you make a mistake, you have a shortcoming, you have a flaw, it's time to pray again. And that's not including the prayers that come before dhuhr, the prayers that come after dhuhr. It's not including the beneficial knowledge, shaking your brother's hand. What does the hadith say about trees? Leaves being shaken off when 2 Muslims meet. Huh? So the prayer is the foundation of one's deen. That's the backbone. And if one has a strong back, then many other things have the opportunity to be what? To be strong. And if one has a weak back, then it's also a great opportunity for the rest of his body to be what? To be weak. But last but not least, it goes to show us the general precept or concept of cleanliness in our Islam. And that being clean was something which was known and accepted by the Arabs. To be clean. Right, moving forward. Chapter number or hadith number 390. It says, Hadith Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال من غدا إلى المسجد وراح أعد الله له نزله من الجنة كلما غدا أو راح. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah will prepare for him who goes to the mosque every morning and in the afternoon an honorable place in paradise with good hospitality every morning and every afternoon. Abu Hurairah's narration tells us that he who goes to the masjid in the morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, Allah Azza wa Jalla will give him something every time he goes, and that is his nuzul, his entertainment, his hospitality, his spread in paradise for each and every time he goes. So imagine if you make 5 salah one day, 7 days out of a week, 31 days out of a month, 12 months out of a year, a decade, and you go and be a Muslim for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Huh? What could be prepared for you? What could be what? Prepared for you to show us the virtue of the salah and the virtue of going to the salah. Pay close attention where it says, ila al-masjid, going to the what? To the masjid, proving that he's walking or he's traveling to the congregation and not praying in his house or in his place of business. Khairan inshallah. This hadith shows us the bounty of Allah, and we also benefit from it the existence of paradise, and that the universal principle, inna al-jazaa min jins al-amal. They say you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. You get the reward based off of what you do. You struggle, you sacrifice to go to the masjid, Allah Azza wa Jalla blesses you accordingly. He blesses you what? Accordingly. Right, next hadith or next chapter. Chapter number 53. باب من أحق بالإمامة Who deserves most to be an imam? Who deserves most to be an imam? Meaning in a congregational prayer, who should lead the salah? There are 5 brothers. Who's to lead the salah? The youngest, the oldest, the most learned, the one who has the best recitation of the Quran, the one who has the highest lineage or genealogy. Who is to lead the what? The salah. The one who's dressed in the most appropriate manner. His head is covered, his body is covered, etc. Who is to lead the salah? Obviously, this chapter heading is not necessarily talking about a virtue, but it's now dealing with an actual ruling, hukum of the Jama'ah prayer and of the masjid. Hadith Malik bin al-Huwaydith radiyallahu anhu qala أتيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في نفر من قومي فأقمنا عنده 20 ليلة وكان رحيما رفيقا فلما رأى شوقنا إلى أهالينا قال ارجعوا فكونوا فيهم وعلموهم وصلوا فإذا حضرت الصلاة فليؤذن لكم أحدكم وليؤمكم أكبركم. The narration is number 391. Malik ibn al-Huwaydith radiyallahu anhu, he said, I came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with some men from my tribe and stayed with him for 20 nights. Stayed with him for 20 nights. He was kind and merciful to us. When he realized our longing for our families, he said, go back and stay with your families and teach them the religion and offer the prayer. And one of you should pronounce the adhan for the salah when its time is due. And the oldest one among you should lead the salah. And the oldest from among you should lead the salah. This hadith teaches us one of the rulings of the imam. And this hadith here, not other hadiths, this one shows us is that the basic staple qualification for the leader is he who is oldest. Akbar. That's one translation. Another translation that was meant by Akbar is greatest. He who was greatest. He who was greatest. So the hadith shows us is that this is one of the rulings of imamship. Is that there has to be a leader, and the leader should be picked out not randomly, but based off of specific qualifications and credentials. And one of them is age or status. Everybody clear on this? That's the highlighting point from that hadith. This hadith shows us many beautiful things. From them is that which we mentioned in a lecture called Traveling to Seek Hadith. This is one of the proofs and evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah to show us the permissibility, the recommendation, sometimes the obligation, and the virtue of traveling to seek ilm. Learning by traveling and through traveling. This comes from the part of the hadith that says we went to the Prophet and we stayed with him for 20 nights. And it also shows us that it doesn't have to be a set amount of time. A year, 20 nights, 6 days, 6 months, whatever you can do. But travel to seek ilm. Travel to seek ilm. And traveling with good companionship. With what? Good companionship. People that are like you. People that are what? That are like you. إِنَّ الطُّيُورَ عَلَى أَشْكَالِهَا تَقَى. They say. إِنَّ الطُّيُورَ عَلَى أَشْكَالِهَا تَقَى. We say birds of a feather flock together. There's wisdom in that statement. So not only someone who's righteous, but someone who actually aspires to learn like you, to benefit like you. Those are the people that have to be your homies. Your homies should be people that want to learn, and not just people who just want to be average and basic and mediocre, but people that want to benefit something. He teaches the Quran, he teaches this, he studies that, he went to Egypt, I was in Yemen, I was in Medina. What happened to that? These should be your friends. People that have similar goals in life and similar experiences in life. And obviously the opposite is going to be the opposite as well. Inna sahiba sahib. Another proverb says, Inna sahiba sahib. They said that the sahib, the friend, is a puller. He pulls, he yanks, he tugs. Meaning your friend, he pulls you towards him. Your friend pulls you towards him. So if your friend is knowledgeable and righteous, tafadhal, you can do what out of me? Snatch me out the car. Pull me as much as you like. Everybody understand this? But if you like to smoke, or drink, or party, or do this and do that, don't touch me. Don't pull me at all. Don't pull me towards that lifestyle. So your friend is someone who rubs off on you, and vice versa. And the sahiba, sahib. It's a linguistic wordplay as well. With the sa'd and the sin. Sahib, sahib. So they say, At-tabu sarraq. Character is a thief. And they're cliche after cliche after cliche after cliche. With regards to birds of a feather flock together. So who is in your company? And how is it befitting for a student of knowledge or someone righteous and pious and learned to hang in the company of criminals and evildoers, lowlives, people that are, as we say, bottom dwellers? You have different types of fish, and sea creatures in the sea and the river. You have some that do what? They live all the way on the bottom. It's not the people you should be around. Evident. So this is something which can help you learn Arabic and the Quran and Hadith, or can be something which can stunt your progression. Everybody understand this? So therefore, him, Malik ibn Huwayrith radiallahu anhu, and other young companions, they went to the Prophet ﷺ to see him. And then when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, when they got there, listen to what he says. There's another etiquette of the teacher. He says, وَكَانَ رَحِيمًا رَفِيقًا, as that he was merciful and kind. He wasn't a brute. He wasn't mean or nasty, but he was kind to us. He made us feel welcomed. So there's an etiquette of a teacher, He should be kind with his students. And then not only does the teacher have to be kind and merciful and kind, but he says, فَلَمَّ رَأَى, is that the teacher has to be aware and mindful of the situation and the status of his students. I cannot expect my students from this city to be like those who come from another state, another country. It's only human nature to miss your family. It's only human nature to become homesick. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was aware of the fact that they were homesick. And he says, go back. You've soaked up, you've taken some knowledge from me, now go back. But the next etiquette of the teacher, of the master, is not to allow his students just to leave and go back, and that's it. You're on vacation, or you're done, you're finished. But go back with a purpose. Go back with an objective. Go back, you're bearing my name, and that means something. So teach your family. Alimuhum. Educate them. Teach them how to pray, how to give zakat. Give them what I gave you. Everybody understand this? So we have many etiquettes of the teacher here in this hadith. Merciful, kind, taking into consideration their situation, and also it's to advise them with regards to the legacy of knowledge. You can't just learn and that's it. You soak up and that's it. No, you must do what now? You got to pass it on to others. And however you can. If you're not the most fluid person, the most eloquent person, but pass it on the best way you know how. The hadith then says, "Irji'u fakulu fihim wa'allimuhum wasallu." He says, go back and live among them. Do what? Live among them. It goes to show, when you graduate, you should go back to what? Your land. Go back to your land. Right. He says, teach them and offer prayer. Lead them in prayer. And when the prayer comes, then make the adhan. One of you should make the adhan, and the oldest from among you should lead the salah. Right. There are other hadith, obviously, which are outside of Bukhari, but in Sahih Muslim, that give an even more vivid description and depiction here. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding the issue of who should lead the salah, who deserves to lead the salah, etc. He says, في دليل لمن يقول بتقديم الأقرأ إلى الأفقه وهو مذهب أبي حنيفة وأحمد وبعض أصحابنا. He says here, with regards to, now obviously, as we explained before, Sahih Muslim has many more hadiths that are outside of Bukhari. And no, he's explaining those hadiths, some which are in Bukhari and others which are just in Muslim. And from those hadiths which are in Sahih Muslim, the narration that says, يَا أُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. The one who should lead the people in prayer is he who is aqra, who has the most qira'ah of the book of Allah. Whether that means the beautiful voice, the most beautiful voice, or whether that means he who knows the most of the Quran. What's important is aqra. He says this hadith, among the other hadiths, it is a proof for those who say that the one who is more able, he's abler to recite the Quran, he takes precedence over the one who has the most knowledge of Islam, of fiqh, of the deen. We have a qari and we have a faqih. He studies Quran, he studies fiqh. He specializes in Quran, he specializes in fiqh. Who should be the imam? He says that hadith proves that it's the one who can do what? Recite more, recite better. He says, and that is the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa. and also of Imam Ahmad. And that is the view of some of the Shafi'i disciples. Some of the disciples of the Shafi'i school of thought. وقال مالك والشافعي وأصحابهما الأفقه مقدم على الأقرأ. As far as Imam Malik and as far as Imam al-Shafi'i and the majority of our friends, the disciples of the Shafi'i school of thought, meaning that's the madhab. That's what the Imam said, and that's what most of the students said. Pay close attention. The first opinion is Abu Hanifa. Do the Hanafi say it or not? He didn't get into that. He said Abu Hanifa. Then he said Imam Malik. Do all of the Hanbali, Imam Ahmad, do all of the Hanbali say that? He didn't get into that. He says, وَبَعْضُ أَصْحَابِنَا or وَبَعْضِ أَصْحَابِنَا. And some of our ashab. Some of those who bear or wear the Shafi'i patch. Clear on this? They hold the view that the one who has the better recitation, more recitation. But that is not what Imam al-Shafi'i said. He said it's the opposite. And that is the view of what? Most of the what? Shafi'i students. So if it's the statement of the Imam and the view of most of the students, then of course that's going to be the what? That's the madhab. That's going to be the mu'tamad. That's the Shafi'i way. Everybody clear on this? The Imam himself said it, let alone the fact that it's what? Most of the students. So we have three things when we talk about a madhab now. We have a qawl, we have a riwayah, and we have a wajh. Qawlun, riwayatun, and we have a wajh. The qawl, ma thabata an al-imam. Is that which has been authentically proven that the Imam said it. It's been proven that Shafi'i said this. And then we have a riwayah. It's something which is narrated from him. It's not necessarily strongly proven that he said it, but it's some people say that he said it. And then we have a wajh, which is a principle or a practice that the people deduce from the Imam's principles. Shafi'i would have said this based off of what? Other issues in which he said something like this with the same systematic way. Everybody clear on this? Shafi'i, he said that yes, you can wear a black thobe. So the student, he says that this is a wajh. This is one of the perspectives that is permissible to wear a blue thobe, because he looked at the way that Shafi'i dealt with the issue over the black thobe. Right, moving forward. They say that he who has the most fiqh is to be put forth beyond or before the one who has the most qira'ah. Why? لأن الذي يحتاج إليه من القراءة مضبوط والذي يحتاج إليه من الفقه غير مضبوط وقد يعرض في الصلاة أمر لا يقدر على مراعاة الصواب فيه إلا كامل الفقه. قال ولهذا قدم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أبا بكر رضي الله عنه في الصلاة على الباقين مع أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم نص على أن غيره أقرأ منه وأجابوا عن الحديث بأن الأقرأ من الصحابة كان هو الأفقه ولكن في قوله فإن كانوا في القراءة سواء فأعلمهم بالسنة دليل على تقديم الأقرأ مطلقا. He then says the reason why they hold this view is because what's needed to be recited in the prayer is locked down, madbut. There's no one who's a master of fiqh except that he's memorized a basic part of the Quran. Even if it's just juz amma. Even if it's what? Yakfi, that's more than enough. Juz amma is enough for Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Eid, Jum'ah, kullu shay. If you memorize more, alhamdulillah. You memorize the entire book, Allahu Akbar. You have a beautiful voice, you have good tajweed, that's what? Even better. You know different recitations, different modes, that's what? Even better. This ijazah and so on and so forth. But none of that is necessary minimum. Someone could be an imam and the only thing that he knows is the amma yatasa'alun to qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. That's it. Rather, he doesn't have to know all of that. He can know one surah from juz amma and the Fatiha. Sufficient. That's it. But that which is needed of the fiqh of the salah, what to do, how to do it, one forgets, someone walks, the lights cut off, the microphone is off, etc. He says, and that's something which isn't locked down. It's not madbut. That can be what? All over the place. Everybody clear on this? This could happen, that could happen. I broke my wudu. Anything could take place. Police officer walks to the masjid, he talks. Do you start? Do you mix it? What do you do? Before the taslim, that's what he's saying. That's what? That's what he's saying. That's the reasoning. So the one who has more fiqh, is superior here to the one who has more qira'ah. Everybody understand this? Tayyib. He just says here, and there are many things that can take place in the salah which no one may have the ability to do except for one who has complete fiqh. Everybody turn this? Now let's just stop and think about this now. This is what Noah is saying. One may say that in most cases, one who's going to focus on one thing and specialize in one thing, in most cases, he doesn't have the time to do what? Other things. Very seldom, very rarely you're going to find someone that's going to master all of this. And not just have a good, but to master it. That takes a great deal of talent. It takes a great deal of skill and time and dedication for someone to master 3 and 4 different sciences. On any aspect of life, any sphere of life. Okay? So, one may say that due to the fact that I have so much fiqh, I don't have to focus on the Quran because fiqh is superior. And one is going to say, because I know the Quran, I have this qira'ah, and I have this specific ijazah, I don't have to focus on fiqh. And this is the case of many people today, unfortunately. They have a means of boasting and bragging with their way. You find many people who recite the Quran and beautiful recitation and very prideful, very arrogant. And they look at them as being top, superior in the land. And there's reasons why. Because people that want a reciter for salah, for taraweeh, they'll pay all types of money to bring them from overseas and house them, lavishly. Just to hear the beautiful recitation of the Quran, a fundraiser, etc. And then the people, unfortunately, who have the fiqh and the ilm, they look at it the same way. They look down upon people with the Quran. Oh, you just know how to recite. I actually have fiqh. I have ilm. I know what's going on, so on and so forth. I know the tafsir. It's not supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to what? Everybody should work together. Right, moving forward. He says, and this is the reason why the Prophet ﷺ put Abu Bakr in front of the rest of the companions. Even though the Prophet ﷺ clearly mentioned that there were other companions who had better Quran than Abu Bakr. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu had the most fiqh. Alright, now what about the hadith that states that, or the hadith says, أقرأهم, he who has the most qira'ah. They say that in the time of the companions, he who had the most aqra or most qira'ah also had fiqh. That they had everything. Right? However, there's a problem. And that's because the hadith clearly states, if they're equal in recitation, then he who has the most knowledge of the sunnah. That's the next step. If they're equal in recitation, then he who has most what? Proving that there's a difference. Proving that there's a difference. Right? He says, وَلَنَا وَجْهٌ اخْتَارَهُ جَمَاعَةٌ مِنْ أَصْحَابِنَا أَنَّ الْأَوْرَعَ مُقَدَّمٌ عَلَى الْأَفْقَهِ وَالْأَقْرَعِ لأن مقصود الإمامة يحصل من الأورع أكثر من غيره. And there's another way, another debate, and another argument that some Shafi'i ulama bring up, and that is, it isn't or shouldn't be the one who has the most fiqh, nor the one who has the most qira'ah, but should be the one who's most pious, and the one who's furthest away from worldly things, doubtful things, dubious things, material things, the one who has true pious zad, not a fake one, you know what I mean? But what? A true one, a true one. Not a brother who has what? Brand names on his socks. All types of expensive, exotic pins. And you claim to be a zahid. Gadgets popping out all over the place. A real pious imam. Everybody doing this? And they say that's because when this person leads the prayer, then he, inshallah ta'ala, has the greatest ability to achieve the objective of the prayer. That's one way of looking at it, but that's not necessarily true. Because in most cases, the one who leads that pious monastic lifestyle is normally the furthest from what? From knowledge, from ilm and fiqh. Right, moving forward. Nawawi he then goes on to say, this is outside of our discussion here. He speaks on here with regards to hijrah and age and so on and so forth. We can't discuss that because that hadith is not in Bukhari and Muslim. That's just in what? Sahih Muslim. And perhaps we'll discuss that in the classes on Bulugh al-Maram. Moving forward. Moving to the hadith of Malik ibn al-Huwayrith radiallahu anhu. He says, فيه أن الأذان والجماعة مشروعان للمسافرين. He says this goes to show us is that making the adhan and praying in congregation are permissible and they're from the sunnah for those who are traveling. وفيه الحث على المحافظة على الأذان في الحضر والسفر. And it goes to show that a person should stick to making the adhan when he's home and when he's traveling. وفيه أن الجماعة تصح بإمام ومأموم وهو إجماع المسلمين. And also shows that two people are enough for there to be jama'ah. Two people are enough for there to be jama'ah. The imam and the ma'mum. The leader and the follower. وفيه تقديم الصلاة في أول الوقت. طيب إلى آخره. Let's move into the next chapter in wal-Marjan. Chapter number 54. And obviously we see that chapter 51 is missing as well. Chapter 54. باب استحباب القنوت في جميع الصلاة إذا نزلت بالمسلمين نازلة. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال وكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حين يرفع رأسه يقول سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا ولك الحمد يدعو لرجال فيسميهم بأسمائهم فيقول اللهم أنجِ الوليد بن الوليد وسلمة بن هشام وعياش بن أبي ربيعة والمستضعفين من المؤمنين اللهم اشدد وطأك أو وطأتك على مضر واجعلها عليهم سنين كسنين يوسف وأهل المشرق يومئذ من مضر مخالفون له. Hadith number 392 is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. When Allah's Messenger sallallahu raised his head from the ruku', he used to say, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. After this, he would invoke Allah for some people by naming them. Oh Allah, save Al-Walid ibn Al-Walid, and Salama ibn Hisham, and Ayash ibn Abi Rabi'ah, and the weak ones among the faithful believers. O Allah, be hard on the tribe of Mudar, and let them suffer from years of famine like that of the time of Yusuf. Abu Hurairah says, or the narrator says, in those days, the eastern section of the Arabian Peninsula from the tribe of Mudar was against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hadith shows us one of the specific rulings of the Jama'ah. One of the specific rulings of the congregational prayer, and that is when Muslims are being killed or persecuted or their countries have been invaded, etc., then the Imam should make a specific prayer for them. He should make a specific prayer for them in the congregational salah when the Muslims are being oppressed on a large scale. On a what? On a large scale. So therefore, when there is something that's going on, this is what should be done. This is the sunnah. And obviously, there are many issues that pertain to this. I mean, first and foremost is the time in which we live. Allah musta'an, yani, people will be doing this prayer every day. They'll be making this in every salah. Because wherever you go around the world, there's Muslims are being what? Persecuted and oppressed, starving, drinking unclean water, their women folk being violated, minarets being used as target practice for rockets and tanks. The non-Muslims taking over their land, their sacred places, stealing their property, children dying, starving in the street. And we sit back and we drink and we eat and we laugh and we play. This is something which is a constant thing. But in the days of the Prophet ﷺ, or other companions, the companions after the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, one may say that it was isolated. There's a war here. Muslims are being persecuted there. And that's it. It's a manageable, isolated situation. But nowadays it's like what? Allah musta'an. Like a conductor, what? On the board. Plugging in each hole. As it lights up. Connecting people. What do you do when everything's red? Right now, as we speak, how many countries right now? How many Muslims? Genocide. And this goes on, unfortunately. Also, we have the concept of making dua for some Muslims and not making dua for others. And political agenda. Political agenda. Don't ever underestimate the power and the influence of politics. The iron fist, the vice grip of politics. Even in the masjids and the institutes of learning. And which you may live somewhere or be in a masjid or be in a country, and there's several countries that the Muslims are being killed and oppressed, right? And you only make dua for these people here. That's okay. But these people have the same fate, if not worse. You never ever hear any qunut for them. That's because the people over here will support that cause, or we're against that cause. But those Muslims, they're being killed and bombed and blown up, we don't make qunut for them. And obviously the reason is because these people are being killed or bombed by someone who's our ally. Or someone that's a benefit for us. And it's unfortunate. But this is a reality. This is a what? It's a reality. Or even on a deeper concept. Let's get out of the big main picture of politics. The people today, with regards to race. How many people, and this is nothing against the Muslims in Syria. May Allah help them. Help our brothers in Syria. And I have many great classmates in my class that were from Syria. Beautiful brothers. But this is the people we're talking about, the people in America. How much money did they raise for Syria and things? They talk about Syria. But how many other Muslim countries were going through the same thing that happened in Syria for how long? People being murdered, blown up, sold into slavery. Did you ever hear $1 being raised for them? Ever. Something's wrong. Our brothers in Syria being oppressed, we are supposed to help them and make dua for them. And it's no different for our brothers and sisters in Palestine or this part of Africa or this part of Asia, Rohingya, wherever you go. Everybody understand this? So it isn't something we just pick and choose. We pick and choose. Everybody understand this? And Allah knows best. Are our prayers being heard by Allah? Are they being answered? Are we making dua with sincere intentions? But it's something that when you talk about helping out the Muslims and making dua against the oppressors, it has to be what? Across the board. No Muslim's blood is more sacred than another. Your blood is more sacred because you're black. Your blood is more sacred because you're Arab. Your blood is more sacred because you're abadan. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. He who is most honorable to Allah is he who is most pious. So you have to be mindful of this, guys. Everybody saying this? It's not okay. These people getting blown to smithereens, oh, that's their fault. That's their problem. These people getting blown up, having bombs dropped on them, we have to help them, we have to send them money. They're all Muslim. It's not important right now who started it. It's not important who fought it was. The point is that there are innocent civilians suffering. Do you differ on that, Afi? Is it just khilaf on that? That's a firecracker we are. 4th of July, huh? 17 what? 76. The rocket's red glare. Here. But in other parts of the world, other time zones, there may be an actual what? Bomb. And a little kid walking out of the house with half of his body, blown off. It's a reality. So may Allah help us all, help the Muslims, and support the Muslims. Ameen. So we have to be mindful of this, of the nazila and of the qunut. And there are many other things that pertain to the chapter heading as well. And the narration or the chapter heading, Al-Amin, clearly says, nazalat bil muslimin. It says the what? The Muslims. And that's the last thing I'll say about this, is to care about people who are with your specific school of thought, or your madhab, or your orientation, or your background, or your interpretation of Islam. Those are the Muslims that will help out and will make dua for them. As far as those who don't see what we see and practice exactly what we practice, then, who cares about them? And it's the attitude of many of us today. If he's not in my school of thought, or this and that, then there's no honor, there's no sacredness to his blood and his wealth. It doesn't mean anything. It's what they deserve. As some of the brothers, unfortunately, from Philadelphia and other places, when I was in Medina, they were saying this about some of the Palestinians that were fighting in Gaza. One brother says, look, he says the women are wearing tight pants. This is what they get. He said this is what they deserve. They deserve for the Jews to take over their land. Look, they're disobedient. They're Ahlul Bidah. It's unfortunate, huh? May Allah help us all. So we'll stop here tonight. And midnight ta'ala, we'll finish the chapter and explaining the hadiths in the following class. Wallahu ta'ala alam wa sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.